Good morning, children. Today we are going to learn the next lesson, lesson 10, Essential for Life, Air and Water, class 5, subject is Science. And by the way, welcome to my channel, Vidyarambam Academics. Education starts here. Okay, children. So in this lesson, first we will learn about atmosphere. Our earth is surrounded by a blanket of air, which is called as the atmosphere. The atmosphere extends to a height of about 300 kilometers above the earth's surface. See, above the earth's surface, 300 kilometers above all this area above the earth's surface. This is our earth. Above the earth's surface is known as 300 kilometers it extends. That area is known as atmosphere. Now, this gravity, you can see this arrow marks, no? This is nothing but I wanted to show you the gravity. The gravity binds the atmosphere. Here, this is all how the earth is being binded around by the atmosphere around this. Just now I told 300 kilometers above the earth is the atmosphere. It extends, this atmosphere extends up to 300 kilometers, no? So this gravity is binding the atmosphere. Now, we will learn the different layers in our atmosphere. There are 5 different layers in the atmosphere. What are they? We will learn now. Yes. What are the layers of atmosphere? Just now I told you, children. 1. Troposphere. Second one is stratosphere. Third is mesosphere. Fourth is thermosphere. Fifth is exosphere. So, these are the 5 layers of the atmosphere. The first is this atmosphere is divided into all these 5 layers. Troposphere. This is the lowest layer. And all the changes in the weather occur here. Most of the oxygen is present in this layer only. So this troposphere is above to earth, 12 kilometers above to earth. Okay, children, next. Second one, stratosphere. This is above to troposphere. Stratosphere is present and jet planes fly in this layer because the clouds are there here. Ozone gas is present in this. This absorbs the harmful UV rays coming from the sun and prevents reaching the earth's surface. These rays are dangerous and these also cause eye problems and skin cancer. See, these rays which are very dangerous for us. And in the second layer of this troposphere, this is present above to earth for above 50 kilometers above. And here jet plane. See, we all travel in the aeroplane, no? Indigo, jet planes, all those things. They will be, we can see in the sky, no? Those all are roaming in this layer. This is stratosphere and this is above to earth, 50 kilometers above to the earth. Okay. Next, mesosphere. This is the third layer and meteorites and small rocks moving in the space are burnt here. Thus, they do not reach the earth's surface. In this layer is above to earth for the 80 kilometers and meteorites and rocks are seen here. Okay, and thermosphere, the fourth layer. I am talking about the thermosphere, that is the fourth layer, and the space shuttles move in this layer of the atmosphere. What is space shuttle? And this is above to earth for 320 kilometers above to the earth. And what are space shuttles? Space shuttle are nothing but, yes, correct, rockets, all those things what we are launching, those all are being launched and they are settling here in the thermosphere. Okay, this is the fifth layer. Next is I am talking about exosphere. This is the fifth layer present in the atmosphere, and here this is the highest layer in the atmosphere. And here the earth's atmosphere becomes a part of the space and it contains very little air. This is nothing but, this is the fifth layer now, children. This becomes the part of the space. So what are all the rocket launchings are happening? Most probably they are being settling here, satellites, everything. And this is all space. Means little the movement will be, these can be seen here also in the exosphere, space. Okay, children? So next. Now we have discussed about the 5 layers of the atmosphere. And what is the importance of the atmosphere? This atmosphere provides oxygen to all the living beings, both plants and animals. Without the oxygen we can't live, no? O2, oxygen. So we are talking about the importance of the atmosphere, and this oxygen is being provided to the plants and animals, and this atmosphere maintains the temperature on the earth's surface for the survival of the living things. That means how we are surviving, how the plants and animals are surviving. Without oxygen we all can't survive. So this is all provided by the atmosphere. Now here it also burns the meteoroids before they reach the earth's surface. So our meteoroids, that are the small rocks moving in the space, these are very harmful to the earth's surface if they hit. So our atmosphere is guarding us, it is taking care of us by stopping those by reaching to the earth. And it protects us from harmful UV rays of the sun. Our atmosphere automatically, it provides a layer and protects us from the UV rays, that is ultraviolet rays, by reaching the earth. Okay children, next. Now we are talking about, up to now we have spoken about the importance of the atmosphere, layers of atmosphere, what is atmosphere, okay, all these things. You should remember like this and draw the picture and keep it ready, so that whenever you see the picture, by looking at this picture you can remember all the points and write it in the exam. It is very easy. Okay children, next segment of the lesson, composition of the air. Yes, the composition of the air. The composition of the air, what just now also we have spoke now children. What are there in the air? 78% of nitrogen, 21% of oxygen, and 1% of the other gases. Okay. So what are all the gases present in our air? I am showing here. I have written on the board. Please have a check. That is oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other gases. What are those other gases? Neon, argon, carbon dioxide, and ozone. So these are all present in our air. That is, we are talking about atmosphere, layers of atmosphere. After that we are speaking about the composition of the air. All these gases are present in our air. Just see children, just you also draw in one white book, and please keep a pen or pencil and draw it and keep it ready, so that it is very easy when you are revising. It is noted very nicely into your brain. Next, importance of the air.
Go.
Importance of the air children. Now we are talking about importance of the air.
Go.
So the importance of air. Now we are talking about the importance of air. And what is the importance of air children? Is there an importance? Yes, correct. Without air we can't survive, we can't live, we can't do anything. In all our activities the major part is air. If air is not there we can't survive. This is a main essential of our life. Okay. So air is needed for breathing, air is needed for burning, and other uses of air. So many things are there here. 3 points. I am categorizing it. Now I would like to tell you about air is needed for breathing. How? Is it needed? Yes, correct. Now keep your finger under your nose. Can you feel the air? Yes. That means you are inhaling air and exhaling air. So air is needed for our breathing. Suppose if this air is not, we are not feeling the air, that means we are not there. We are dead. If we are alive, this is only main thing which has to be observed is when we are inhaling also we feel the air, exhaling also we'll feel the air. Yes. Next, the air we breathe is called inhaled air, and the air we breathe out is called exhaled air. Okay. So inhaled air and exhaled air. Okay. So now our body uses the oxygen present in the air and gives out the carbon dioxide. These all we know now. So air which are we breathing in is oxygen, and which we are exhaling out is the carbon dioxide. So the exhaled air has very less oxygen and more of carbon dioxide and than the inhaled air. It also has more water vapor and it is warmer than the inhaled air. Okay. So just observe. Keep your finger under your nose and just observe. Then whatever I have told, that is correct. You will only feel whatever the teacher is telling is correct. Okay children, did you do? Next, air is needed for burning. How? So if air is not there, the burning not happens? Yeah, correct. When air is not there, the burning will never happen. So for that I want to show you one experiment which is given in the textbook. See children. See. Yes. Here 2 candles have been lit and they are kept ready. Okay, see. That means when they are exposed, the air is there around them. That's why only the candle is lit. That means it is burning. Now we have closed it with a glass. On the second cardboard you can see that, correct? So is the candle burning? No, it will never burn. Why? Because we are not allowing the air to enter into this candle. That is why it is not burning. This is only a clear example showing that air is needed for burning. Okay, next, what are the other uses of air? Yes, what are the other uses of air? Moving air helps in the formation of different weathers, that is hot, cold, wet, dry, windy. Moving air helps in the movement of gliders, kites, parachutes, sailboats. Air is used to fill football also and tubes of tires also. Air also helps in the rotation of the blades of windmill, and thus this is used for generation of electricity. Yes? Here generation of electricity is also happening. Yes, we will talk about that in detail in the next topic. I will tell you clearly. From the windmill, suppose windmills are there, big, yeah, where you can see this windmill will be moving around like this, it will be turning around. So this generation of electricity is also happening through air, children. If air is not with a force, when it comes only, this electricity is generated. From the coal it is generated, from water also it is generated. So this is one form. Next, we are moving into the next topic is properties of air. Yes, next is the properties of the air. So what are the properties of air? Here in the textbook they have given 5 main properties, children. What are they? Air occupies space, air has weight, air can be compressed, air expands on heating and contracts on cooling, and air exerts pressure. So for this, all the 5 points, they have given some experiments in the textbook. I would like to show you the pictures and explain it. It will be very easy for you. I already told you in the beginning of my explanation only to buy this Cordova textbook. In this, everything is given properly and clearly. Just have a check, children. Yes, what you can see here, the air cannot escape, water does not enter the glass. Here in the second picture, air escapes, water enters the glass. That means what he wants to show here is, we have taken a water in the tumbler and in the glass we are inserting into the tumbler very forcibly. Okay, what happening here? The water cannot be entered into the glass. Why? Yes, because here in the glass some pressure will be there. First of all, this pressure should go out, then only the water will enter into the glass. Now see here how it is. Air escapes and water enters the glass. That means see here, when you pull up the glass and again when you are pushing it down into this tumbler, the glass into the water tumbler, then this air bubbles will come out, then only the water will enter into the glass. Okay, this is showing that air occupies the space. Okay children, the first point is clear. Now the second one, air has weight. How can we prove this? See, we have tied to one stick 2 balloons. They are inflated balloons, and one we have punctured, one we have pricked. Then what is happening? Because here like a common balance, you all know common balance. So when you hold it like that, you can see when we have inflated it, this will go up and this side will go down. Okay, next, see here. So this experiment is clearly showing that this side will go down and this side will move up, because here there is no air, because we have punctured the balloon. This is an unbalanced stick. Where the air is there, that side only it will go down because of the weight. So air has weight. This experiment is proving that air has weight. Now the third point is, air cannot be compressed. How? Since the molecules of gases in the air are far apart from each other, the air can be compressed and pushed into small spaces. So that's why we tell that air can be compressed. Okay? Yes. Next. Air has expands on heating and contracts on cooling. So how it is possible, children? Yes. When we are heating, the air expands on heating and air contracts on cooling. Okay? So that means when we are heating the air will expand, and when it is cooled, the air will contract. Okay, children? Next, fifth one. The air exerts pressure. How it is exerting the pressure? I'll show you an experiment which is given in the textbook for this. See. That means when we fill, switch off it. Yes, children. Now we are talking about air exerts pressure, children. For this, I am showing you the picture. Can you see this? Yes. So here we are filling water into the glass and we are closing it with a cardboard, and when we are tilting it down, what will happen? Yes, I can listen to you. Correct. What is happening is air pressure is formed. Air pressure is formed here, and when you leave the hand also, this cardboard will not fall down because of the air is exerting pressure inside. This cardboard is holded back. So this experiment proves that air exerts pressure. So one more time, shall we check the properties of the air, children? Look at the board. They are: air occupies space, I have explained. Air has weight. Air can be compressed. Air expands on heating and contracts on cooling. And air exerts pressure. Okay, children, is it clear? Now, next we are entering into the next segment of our topic is water. Yes, water, children. Now we are talking about water. Yes, water is very important now. Without water our survival is not at all possible. Yes. Now, water. We are talking about water. After air, the second most essential thing is in our life is water. All the living things need water, and 3/4 of our earth surface is covered with water, children. And only 3% of total water can be used for drinking. About 97% of water is in oceans and contains the salt. Okay. Now, how we get water? We get water from rivers, ponds, lakes, and rain. So we also get water from ground and by using wells, hand pumps, etc. The water in the river, pond, and lakes, etc. This is not pure, no. Directly we are not getting them and we are not drinking. We will get so many diseases. We have to purify it and we are drinking. Then only, otherwise we can't drink it because it will have so much of dirt. Many things like dirt, mud, and germs are mixed in the water and make the water unfit for use. So the substances that make the water unfit are called impurities. And see here, I have written, children. The substances that make the water unfit are called impurities. And here you have two types of impurities. They are soluble impurities and insoluble impurities. Okay, water soluble impurities that can dissolve in water are called the impurities, which can dissolve in water are called soluble impurities. Examples are salts of potassium and sodium. The examples are salts of potassium and sodium. So these are soluble impurities. Now what are insoluble impurities? All those impurities that can dissolve, that cannot be dissolved, means what is happening. I want to tell you clearly the difference between the soluble impurities and insoluble impurities. The examples of soluble impurities are the salts of potassium and sodium, and the examples of this insoluble are all those impurities that do not dissolve in water are called insoluble impurities. And example are, yes, correct, you are sand, mud, salts of calcium. Here the examples are sand, mud, and salts of calcium. That means these impurities are insoluble in water. That means they do not dissolve in water. Okay. Now we have different methods or processes for removal of impurities from water. Now we will learn first the removal of insoluble impurities, children. So first we will learn the removal of insoluble impurities, children. Just now we spoke about soluble impurities and insoluble impurities. Now we are learning how to remove the insoluble impurities from water. We got three processes for that, children. What are they? First is sedimentation, the second one is the decantation, and third is the filtration. And I will explain you clearly about this sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Please look at the pictures given in the textbook. Yes. First, sedimentation. The name only is suggesting you, no, children? Yes. So in this method, a mixture of water and insoluble impurities is allowed to stand undisturbed in the container for some time. That means, see here, it is mixture. This is okay. Now here in this, what we are doing, this is the mixture. Sorry, this is not the mixture. This is the mixture. So here in this mixture of sand and water, what is happening? What we are doing? The heavy insoluble impurities settle down at the bottom of the container, and this layer of impurities is called sediment. When the impurities settle down, the clear water is left out above the layer of the impurities, and this process is called sedimentation. That means when you leave this mixture of sand and water for some time, what is happening after some time? The clear water is coming up, and the sand, that is the sediment, which is heavy than water, it is sedimenting down. Yes, correct. This process, this sediment is settling down. This process is called sedimentation. Okay? Yes, look at the picture. Yes. So the mixture of water, after water and sand, after we leave it for some time, this is the sediment is settling down, that is sand. So, and the clear water is coming up. This is our residue. So this process is known as sedimentation. This is the first process of removal of impurities from water, that is insoluble impurities. Okay, children. Next we are moving on to the second process. This is called decantation. What is decantation? After sedimentation, the clean water is poured gently into the separate container without disturbing the sediment of the impurities. So this process is called decantation. That means it is nothing but, see here, in this sedimentation process, show this. Water is present, no, clear water. This is the residue. Just now I told you, no. So this, what we are doing in the decantation process, we are separating it into a container. See, like this, we are pouring it into a separate container. Then the clear water only we are taking it separately, and the sand is left out here. The sediment is left out here. So by a glass rod, here we are keeping a glass rod, and here see, we are mixing it. Suppose if any impurities are there, again we will decant it. That's why this process is called decantation, and the rate of sedimentation can be increased by adding chemicals like alum. This is known as loading. That means to this we will add alum, so that clearly this, again, if at all any sediments, impurities are there, this will be nicely, clearly removed, and only clear water is left out. So for that process, again, when we are adding chemicals like alum, that is known as loading. Okay, children. So this is the glass rod. This is only just for our mixing process. We are keeping it. Okay. Next, we are moving it into the next segment is filtration. The process of insoluble impurities. How we are removing the insoluble impurities. The third process is called filtration. Okay. Look at the picture. I will explain you. Yes. So this method is used to separate water from the insoluble impurities like sand by using a filter paper. Yes, the method is used to separate water from the insoluble impurities like sand using a filter paper. To filter a mixture of water and sand, a cone of filter paper is made and kept inside a funnel. Then the mixture is poured into the funnel. The sand does not pass through the filter paper and remains behind on the filter paper. This is called residue. Okay, children. So what is happening here? Whatever after decantation process, see, in the decantation process directly we are separating it. Now in the filtration paper process, what we are doing here, we are keeping a funnel in the middle and keeping a filter paper on that, and we are pouring this mixture of, see, this is a mixture of the impurities, water with the sand. Okay, so we are pouring after the sedimentation process. What directly we are doing the filtration, we are taking the clear water aside, and suppose some sand is coming out, this is nicely stopped here in the funnel on the filter paper, and only clear water will come down. So this process here, when the sand is seen here in the funnel on the filter paper, this is known as residue. Okay, this sand is known as, what we have filtered is known as residue. Now this is the clear liquid and filtrate. So this process is called filtration. So the clear water comes out of the filter paper and is collected in the beaker below, and in the funnel the residue is seen. Just now I explained you. So this is called filtrate. This method of purifying the water is called filtration. Is it clear, children? Yes, if it is a class, you would have told yes, teacher. Yeah, I can listen to you. So this is the process of filtration. So now we have discussed the three processes of removal of insoluble impurities. They are sedimentation, second is decantation, and the third one is filtration. Now we are moving on to the next segment. Yes, now removal of soluble impurities. Next we are going to learn removal of soluble impurities. Just now, up to now we have learned the insoluble impurities. Now how to remove. So by the three processes we have learned now sedimentation, decantation, filtration. Now we are going to learn the removal of soluble impurities. There are two processes of removal of the soluble impurities, children. They are evaporation and distillation. Now what is evaporation? In evaporation, in this method, the solution containing the soluble impurities like salt is heated, and after some time water gets evaporated into the steam. It changes into steam and the impurities are left behind. So this process is called evaporation. That means only we are heating it. In the water beaker, here we are taking water and down we are heating it. So this process, all the water is evaporated, leaving out the impurities down. So this is called evaporation. Okay, the impurities are left behind here. Okay, this process is evaporation. Now distillation. What is distillation? Here I will show you the picture also. See, this is evaporation, children. The water is heated and the impurities are left behind, and the water will be changing into the steam and the impurities are left behind. It is evaporation. Okay, now the second process, next process is distillation. See the picture. In this distillation, what is happening? See here. Here you can see, no? So water is taken in this beaker here, and now when it is heated, the water, it is changed into water vapor, and it goes through this, you can see now, a thin condenser. This is called condenser, and in this is a thin tube. You can see inside this one more tube, small tube is there. So the water vapor is going through this. When it is passing through this tube, what is happening inside this, the condenser, the water vapor will change into water, and that water will come down and collected in this flask. This is distilled water, pure water, purest form of water. And in the evaporation, the water mixes in the form of the water vapor and only impurities are left behind. But in distillation, both the impurities and pure water are obtained. Okay, and in distillation, impure water is heated in a flask, and on heating the water changes into steam, and these impurities are left behind in the flask, and the steam passes through the condenser and it gets cooled and it changes into water again, and this water is the pure and is collected into a separate flask. Actually, distilled water is the purest form of water. This water is used in car batteries and science experiments and also in the medicines. Okay, children, this is clear. This is distillation. Now we are going to learn the next, purification of drinking water. Now how we have to purify the drinking water, we are going to see. Just have a check. I have written on the board. by the three processes called boiling, chlorination and water purifier. That is water purifier. How we are doing this? Boiling. The name only is telling that how we are purifying the drinking water by boiling. Water is heated for 10 minutes. The boiling kills the germs present in the water and makes the water pure. This is the simplest way to purify the water. This is boiling. Now chlorination. How the chlorination? Addition of the chlorine tablets in the water to kill the germs and to make water pure. This is called chlorination. Okay. Generally in the water tanks also in our houses, up in apartments, houses, the water tank will be there. No, this chlorination process only we follow. We add the chlorine tablets and the chlorination, and then the water is purified, the drinking water. Boiling also we do. The germs will be killed. Then only we will drink the water. That is boiling. Generally, mummy will do in the kitchen every day. Otherwise, the water cannot be purified and we can't drink it. This will become a drinking water, purified water after boiling. Next is water purifier. What is a water purifier? Generally, in all the houses we have children. RO is the water purifier we are using nowadays in all the houses. RO is the water purifier we are using. Okay, to purify the water, this is the purest form of water we obtained in the RO and we are using in the houses. Okay, so this is the AquaGuard RO, that is nothing but AquaGuard, we call it as RO only. AquaGuard, different company names are different, that is called the RO purifier. Okay, so this is the end of the lesson. If you have any doubts, please keep it in the comment section. I will please clear your doubts. I will be the happiest person to do that. And thank you for watching listening to the video. This is the lesson 10, air and water. This is little bit big lesson, and thank you for the patience. If you have any doubts, again I am telling, keep it in the comment section. I will clear them. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel. And thank you. Have a nice day.